Well, it's been a long time and I'm back. First thing first, I've got my coffee because life is getting back to normal when you can pick up a coffee in the morning and get back to vlogging and get back to your normal routine and start working. So that's good. I just want to say though, because people who would have clicked on the title of this video, I don't want to make it deep and political and racial and get hundreds and views of people looking for trolling and arguments, and I don't want that. Firstly, I think Black Lives Matter is an important movement, and I think what happened to George Floyd was awful and terrible, and that should never happen in a world that we're trying to build. But I do think that we've forgotten what we were fighting for, and I think nobody is talking about it anymore, and I think that's what troubles me when we live in a world where we can post something on social media and make ourselves feel better, and I've done that, I'm good now, when actually the family thousands of miles away is still suffering. And that leads on to what I'm going to talk about in a minute, because this whole movement started because of obviously George Floyd's death in America, and it somehow affected our tiny little island in England, in the United Kingdom, and it affected us in a massive way, when really nobody was stopping and asking, well, what's happening over there? And it's tumbled and it's kept tumbling, and we've seen a lot of that. We've seen rugby songs being taken out of the RFU. We've seen episodes of TV shows being banned. We've seen artists and bands in America change their names because of this movement. And obviously the title of this video is about CrossFit, and I'm reading here the article. CrossFit, as of yesterday and today, has been sold. The owner, Greg Glassman, has officially sold his company as of a tweet that he put out because of the protests and what was going on over the last few weeks and months. That he, obviously his own opinions, I'm not going to quote it all officially because I don't, as I said at the start of the video, I don't want to make it into a big argument, but he's entitled to his own opinion, and he basically called it COVID-19, titled it Floyd-19, hinting that it wasn't so much about what it was supposed to be about, and it sparked a lot of anger, it sparked a lot of division, so he's had to sell the company, but a company that has been around for 10 years and brought a lot of people happiness, mental health, fitness, passion, is now gone, or is going. And I think that's what I want to talk about, because whilst I'm sure, like most people, I myself agree, and most people would agree, racism cannot stand. It cannot exist. And what happened to George Floyd and what happened to a lot of other cases. I myself am a criminology student. I've learned about Christopher Older, happened a few years ago. He died in police custody. Nobody is talking about that. I think I remember hearing Righty talk about it on Match of the Day. But you could rattle off hundreds of cases. But what I find interesting is this huge movement that is happening. People are fighting and protesting and putting their hands up and going, yep, I'm in, I'm there. But they're not really sure why they're there. And I think, you know, they're angry at the people who are not necessarily, you know, on the fence or there, when actually, you know, does that make them not a bad person? Does that, you know, it creates division. You know, the people who are going all in, getting themselves arrested, you know, getting themselves in trouble in these protests, a large percentage of them don't know, you know, the full story. I think they just want to be heard. I think they just want to be, and again, you know, just an opinion, because I've never been in a protest. I've never been an activist. I've never done that. It's just what I'm seeing from the backlash of these articles popping up, stories popping up, and people glazing over them. People are not realizing that a lot's going on that isn't getting noticed. You know, a lot of people can think, oh, if I post this on Instagram, that makes me a better person. Well, it's not going to eradicate hundreds of years of racism. You know, there are still going to be people out there who have that mentality. It's a mindset thing, it's psychological. You know, I've never met somebody who thinks that way. But I imagine it's psychological, it's deep rooted. You know, they clearly have something wrong with their head. And if you get millions of people to just post something on social media, do you think somebody in Texas, you know, who is a, you know, neo-Nazi, is going to think, oh, I seen this on Instagram, I saw that on Twitter, I completely changed my beliefs now? You may see it on fake news or something that he's changed his life around and now he goes to church every day or whatever, but it's not true. You know, it's fucking ridiculous. Of course it's not. It's psychological. It takes change. It takes work for somebody to do that, and that can happen by Instagram. You know, and now they've gone this different route of going, right, okay, let's eradicate our history. You know, let's get rid of everything linked with the bad stuff. And that doesn't make sense to me either, because you've forgotten, now they've forgotten about why they started the movement. Seems a big issue. Because everyone was on board with it. So everyone who's now involved is going, well, why are we here in the first place? So now we have this mentality of tear everything down that's bad, and in an on-demand culture, you know, and we are an on-demand culture. We Netflix, iPlayer, YouTube, where everything's available. You know, social media. You can look back years and years and years of somebody's life. People can easily just go, that was wrong, 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 that was wrong. People will do it in this video. People will go, oh, you didn't say that right. Oh, you said that. You said that. They'll edit it. You know, people can do anything now. So they can do anything to make you out to look bad, when actually you're not. And that's the culture we live in. People are purposely out to make you look bad. And we had it. We've always had it. We've had it in the 80s, we had it in the 90s, you know, The Sun, Daily Mail, they were perfect at that. But that was just not as bad as it is now, because it's easier online, you know, with social media and stuff, for people to just make you look worse than you are. And I think that's what's happening now. But to sum up, I mean, you know, again, it's trial by media. I never like seeing companies in trouble. I never like seeing people, you know, getting in trouble because of what they say on social media. That shouldn't be what it's designed for. You know, we've seen it a lot over the last 2 years. That's a really sad thing, that it's going to be, you know, in trouble. And I think, you know, obviously just because of a tweet, he's gonna have to retire and start over again. And I think it's not just CrossFit. We're looking at other things as well, as I've spoken about. That, you know, I read the other day in entertainment that Brooklyn Nine-Nine massive show. They've had to cancel 4 episodes of their show and rewrite the entire new series, thinking about George Floyd all the time and taking it into consideration. Now, that's not a good or a bad thing. I'm just putting it out there. But that shows the power of this movement. So that shows how impactful this whole thing has become and widespread it is, because it's no longer. And this is why people are starting to think it. And this is why, if you think it, I might get in trouble by posting this. And this is why the CrossFit owner has, he's had to sell his whole company by tweeting out. I'm posting a video. I don't own $1 billion company, so nothing bad can happen there. But they've had to redesign their entire series because of it. It shows how widespread and deep-rooted it is, that you have to stop and think, right, before we do this, we're going to have to think, I don't think people realise just how widespread this has become, because, especially the people who are going to protest, putting it on their Instagram, and, there's a lot of people who are involved in that and talking about it, but don't actually realise that it sparked something that is probably a lot bigger than they think. Racism has been around for hundreds of years, and a lot of people will agree it shouldn't be. It's a horrible, 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 horrible thing. But what's happening now is very, very different. I don't think anyone would have seen what's happening now. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. I just know that a lot is happening and a lot of change is happening, and it's sparking up a lot of discussion, and it's sparking up a lot of talking points is probably the better word, because what it is doing is the society was probably on a breaking point and the verge of a tipping point. We had this guy over here in the US and this guy over here in England, and then we had lockdown, and then we had George Floyd, and then it just went explode. So then society pretty much imploded in itself. So now it's just tumbling, and now everyone, whether you're a teacher, a nurse, a key worker, working from home, a blogger, whatever, all every day, or even if you're not a criminology student like myself, you're questioning things, you're asking things, you're looking at things, and I think it can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. So I think that's the outcome of it. We never like to see companies sold. We never like to see, it might get broken down and put into parts. It might be rebranded. We never like to see people lose their jobs. We never like to see people, we are in a financial crisis as well, so that's as a result of lockdown. So we are seeing stories of like that. As I've said previously in the video, there are lots of things unseen, and that's the sad thing of the movement at the moment, that I am a little bit frustrated by. A lot of people they're kind of glossing over it. But you'll always get that. You'll always get people who go, okay, I just want to be heard. I'm not interested in that, but that's the fact of life. But regardless, the general outcome is people are talking. People are talking a lot more than they normally would, and I think that's great. And I think if you can put a positive spin on anything, compared with how we were before lockdown, people talking more, people having more of a perspective, that's a positive. And the Black Lives Matter movement is a positive. So yeah, thumbs up at the end of the day. And coffee's back. So that's my first vlog back. yeah, I just wanted to talk about that really because I saw the article and I thought I just wanted to bring up some talking points, maybe see if anyone had any thoughts on it. But if I get into trouble, I'm sure somebody will, because there's always people who have views and opinions. I don't mind, share them. Wherever your thoughts are, drop them in, because it's a community at the end of the day. Don't be afraid to drop your thoughts, and please like and subscribe. Peace out.